But after the song ended and I was able to limp over and sit down, all the girls in that room were so quick to be like, do you need anything? Do you need your water? Do you want me to go get ice? Like, what do you need? And I was like,
Today we have a very special guest joining us, Lexis Trechak, a social media and dancing star. Thank you for joining us, and how have you been doing?
yeah, thank you for having me. I've been doing okay. I've been dealing with an ACL injury, so, time's a lot slower when you're dealing with an injury, so it's not been too fun.
How have you been doing with that recovery and everything?
Yeah, it's been annoying because I tore it at a dance audition February 6th. So I was dancing and just one wrong landing, it tore, and it was my ACL and my meniscus. So both of them
Hmm.
tore. I had to get all the way back to New Jersey because that's where I live to get to the hospital. So I went to the hospital, and then a couple of days later, I found out my ACL and meniscus were torn. So then I had surgery February 28th. And then a little less than a month later, I think it was like 2.5 weeks to 3 weeks, I found out my ACL got infected. So I had to have a second surgery, which was not great. And I'm still dealing with the infection because I have a PICC line in my arm, as you can see. So I have to do 2 rounds of antibiotics a day, and it takes about 2 hours. And so I do it from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. and 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. So it takes a lot of time because they really want to make sure that this infection gets out. So I've been doing that for 3 weeks now. I think I'll probably have a couple more weeks with the PICC line. And then once the antibiotics stop, then we have to see if the infection comes back without the antibiotics being there. So it's a process. And if the antibiotics don't work, I have to redo the whole ACL surgery. I'm really hoping that that doesn't happen because I've already come so far with recovering that I don't want to go backwards. Fingers crossed the infection goes away, but it's been a long few months.
The infection, was that kind of like a freak accident, or does it happen often with like ACL like repairs and
No,
everything?
it doesn't happen often. It's like less than 1% chance.
Oh
So
no. What are
I
the
really defy
odds?
the odds. Yeah. And like we don't even know how it happened. It could have happened in surgery, it could have happened in PT, it could have happened in the doctor's office. Like we really have no idea how it happened, and I don't think we're going to know, but I really beat the odds with that one.
What did it like feel like after you like, tore it? Because were you able to walk on it? Because I know that there's like some instances where like athletes and stuff that I've seen on like television able to like walk on it and stuff.
Yeah. So it depends how you tear it based on if you can walk or not. So like I was doing like a jump kick, and like when I landed that supporting leg, it just popped backwards and instantly I knew. But for some people, if they like twist and tear it, those are the ones I think that can't walk after. So because mine was like a very vertical up and down tear, that's why I was able to walk. But also like I was in New York by myself, so I kind of had to walk to get home. I was at a dance studio, like an audition studio, and I had to get all the way from there to Penn Station and then through Penn Station, taking the train home and then going to the ER. I didn't really have a choice unless I wanted to pay even more money in medical bills with like an ambulance, which I didn't want to do. There was just so much going through my head. I think just the adrenaline was what was able to get me to walk that much and get me home. But yeah, it was a long day.
That's crazy that you had to like go all the way home from New York to New Jersey. Because that's a hike. Did you have like someone with you?
Nope, I was by myself because I would just go into the city and just audition every single day. Like that's what I was doing because this is my new career now. I mean, not right now, but this is what I plan on doing, like pursuing performing and everything. So I was going and I was auditioning every day. And then that day, I think I got there at like 8 or 9 in the morning and waited until about 4 o'clock until we finally got into the room to audition. By 4:45, I was done dancing for a year because that's how long it's going to be to recover.
How long have you been doing dance for?
Since I was 2, I it's been a part of me forever. So this is like the first time in my life that I feel like I lost my identity because I've just always associated myself as a dancer. I've always been a dancer. I've been fortunate enough to always be able to dance. So this is just like a very weird time because I don't know what to do with myself. Like that was not only my hobby, but now my career. So I'm bored and confused because I don't know what to do with myself.
That's the one thing that sucks about sports and stuff. And then if you have like an injury, it makes you unable to actually do the thing that you love doing every day. What have you been like doing to kind of like supplement it, to make up for not being able to like perform?
I haven't gotten to the point in my recovery yet that I can do much else, especially with the infection getting in the way and like the PIC line, and I have to be home so we can do this, like do the injections and everything. I really haven't been doing much. I go to PT 3 times a week. I just started working back at my dance studio, just like the front desk, and something to get me out of the house, which is nice. I'm comfortable enough now to go out to dinner and like out to lunch with my friends, which is another thing that I can do. You know, sitting with the leg not moving, it gets stiff. So I'm able to tolerate it, but still sometimes when I get up afterwards, I'm like that hurts and I need a second to be able to like walk on it. Yeah, aside from that, I've been watching a lot of TV. I still make my content on TikTok. I've been vlogging all of my ACL journey throughout. I call it 567 ACL because it's just something to do and it's helpful for me, and I think also helpful for other people to realize like we're all not alone when it comes to injuries as a dancer, because like we are really throwing our bodies at the wall. It could just happen at any second. So to know that I'm not alone with my ACL injury, and for others to know that like I'm going through what they're going through too, like it's kind of just a nice little community that I think helps all of us heal, at least mentally, because this is just as much a mental recovery as it is a physical recovery.
Most definitely. I was meaning to ask this a little bit later in the interview, but I kind of wanted to correlate it with dancing and everything. How has the come up with social media been for you, and kind of like the process of like building that community online before the ACL, and also like diving into that community aspect that's helping you with the ACL process and everything?
Yeah, so I started posting on TikTok about 5 years ago now, which I didn't realize how long it's been, but it's been a while, and my main content is dance content, but more like comedic skits, point of views, etc. So it's been fun to just post all these funny things that happen to me as a dancer, to others as a dancer, and to see how many people actually relate, and like to know that, oh my god, this experience that I had, everybody else had it too, or just stuff like that. Like it really creates such a nice community of dancers to know that we all have been through the same thing and we're not alone, whether it's good or bad, getting yelled at, getting put in the back, or getting a solo, or getting a special moment. Like all these things, like a community of dancers can relate to all of them. So that's been just really fun throughout the years, and I haven't stopped posting it. Like I'm still very committed to posting one TikTok a day because I enjoy making it. Like it's just really fun for me, and also especially now more than ever, it gives me an outlet and something to do because I'm not dancing, but it's still nice to feel like a dancer when I make these videos, because I am still a dancer, just not right now.
What kind of is your process of coming up with ideas to post like every day? Like, how do you keep consistent content and just like the process of posting?
Yeah, so I have this long list in my notes app of just like ideas that have been like accumulating throughout the years. And anytime I think of something, I add it to the list. Anytime somebody tells me a story about a dance class or a dance audition that sparks an idea, I write it down in the list. It's a really long list. So I've been good. I'm not too worried. Like I said, going back to my old dance studio and being able to work at the office, being around dance again, things just will come to me. Like I'll see someone mess up in a dance and the teacher be like, oh, that's so funny, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, that sparks an idea. Like, I don't know. Being able to be around it and observe it sparks ideas. So not completely leaving the dance world has been helpful. I've just really had like accumulated such a long list that I've been set for a while.
Oh, that's awesome. I've been creating like, content as well, and the trickiest thing with it is just like coming up with ideas and just like keeping like consistent content ideas flowing and everything. And it's interesting to hear your side of it and how you process and create content and everything. What is like the process of like learning a new dance formation for an upcoming performance?
Like picking up choreography, you mean?
Yeah.
I consider myself like good at picking up choreography. I wouldn't say I'm a master at it. I would say I'm like a nice average. When it comes to like auditions and stuff, they are throwing these quick little dance pieces at you and you just have to like pick it up. So I think that's helped me be able to pick up choreography quicker, but that all like rooted from going to like big dance conventions as a kid, because you're taking like 7 or 8 classes a day and they're throwing probably a minute to a minute and a half, maybe even 2 minute long combos at you. So you just have to be able to like pick it up And I think that's what's helped me be able to pick up choreography quickly, because when you're in a class, just like a regular dance class, you usually have time. For example, growing up dancing at my studio, we knew when our competition was, we knew when our recital was, so we would start rehearsing way in advance. So then we had time to like add on a couple counts of 8 every week. Next week, we perfect it. And then the week after that, we add on more. So we were able to pick that up because it wasn't too much for our brains. But then, like going to auditions and stuff, they really throw it at you and you just have to be able to do it. So conventions definitely helped me do that. It's an acquired skill. Like it doesn't come right away, but I feel like I've grown at this skill and I am hoping to get even better at it when I go back to auditioning.
That's really interesting to hear. Is I always wondered how the process of remembering a long choreography while learning like multiple other formations and everything along those lines. Is there like a sense of muscle memory that comes into it as well?
Muscle memory is like a huge thing for dancers because once you're a dancer, you have this like dancer brain. Everything is just like a pattern, and putting it to music, like you know what comes when, and like it all just flows together. So after like a couple rehearsals, you don't really have to think about it because you can just do it. And something that I've noticed over time is like when you know a dance for a while, it's better to not think about it and to just trust your body and do it, because if I think about it, I will forget it. Like when we were on How the Grinch Stole Christmas national tour and we did 69 performances and we're just doing it every single day. And sometimes I would be like, do I know what I'm doing? And then I'm like, wait. Don't think about it, because if you think about it, you will not know what you're doing. So you just have to trust yourself and go out there. And I did the same exact thing for the shows that I did this past summer. I did a summer stock. That was my first professional show. So we did SpongeBob the Musical and Spamalot. And there was 2 tap numbers. There was 1 tap number in SpongeBob and 1 tap number in Spamalot. And there was a couple pieces of choreography in it that were very similar to each other. For example, it was the same feet but different hands, or like the same step, but one time you're doing it only on the right versus like the other dance you're like alternating back and forth. So that was something that I was like, if you think about what the dance is, you will mess up. Just smile and trust your body, trust your feet. They got it. Muscle memory and like autopilot, huge thing for dancers because you won't know it if you think about it.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So you went on your first national tour recently, and you've been performing live. How was the national tour? What was that experience like? And how do you keep your stamina through it?
Yeah, so going on a national tour has been a dream of mine since I was really, really little. So this has been an absolute dream. So the way that this tour worked, because it was a Christmas show, it was just during the holiday season. So we were only gone for, I think, 3 months. So it's not as long as like a typical national tour that would start in probably August and end in like June or July. So usually like you're gone for like 10 or 11 months of the year, which is something that I would love to do one day. And when I can get back to auditioning, do something like that. But just having this experience was awesome because it introduced me to what it was like to be on a national tour. I don't know. I feel like it's an acquired taste. Some people like it, some people don't like it because you're away from home for so long. But someone who's in their early 20s, I feel like this is the perfect time to do something like that because I have no strings attached to anything right now. You know, like I'm not married, I don't have a house, I don't have kids. So now's the time to be traveling and go on a tour. Like, so this was the perfect time for me to do it. And I loved it so much. Like, it was such a cool experience, especially after making the pivot in my career to choose to pursue this, because this wasn't the plan. I was supposed to go to grad school for speech pathology, and very, very last minute, I changed my mind and decided I wanted to do this. So I auditioned for it 5 days after quitting grad school and then booked a week later. So it was just like, all the stars were aligning in that moment to confirm that theater was what I should be doing. Despite the ACL tear, I don't regret making this choice because I'm thrilled to get back to being on stage once I recover. But yeah, just like being on a tour, I think is so magical, especially during the holiday time, and especially like it being a children's show just adds 10 times more of the magic onto it. To answer your second question about keeping up the stamina, I would say that it wasn't the most physically demanding show I've ever done. So I was able to have the stamina to do a show like this because it was only 90 minutes. It wasn't like a 2.5 hour show with an intermission. It was only 90 minutes. So it was a little bit more doable. But again, like a lot of us would go to the gym. A lot of us would make sure we're eating as best as we can. You know, you're on tour. So it's like going out sometimes is just easier because you don't have time to go to the grocery store, or you're living in a hotel room, so you don't really have places to store groceries and to pack it up and travel. So you eat the best you can, but there's always a gym in the hotels, which have been nice. I would always go to those and just like go on a morning walk or lift some weights, just to make sure that my body was ready for the day. The show, it wasn't too hard on my body, but when we would have triple show days, that's when I would start to feel it. Usually once we ended that second show, knowing that there was a third show coming up, my body would be like, all right, it might be time for you to go to bed. And I was like, well, we can't go to bed because we have a whole nother show to do. But yeah, it was really fun. I've never done a triple show day before, but it was a very cool experience.
I can't imagine doing 3 shows at once or one day. I would be passed out after the first one. Do you get nervous before like your first performance of that day? If so, how do you kind of like adapt to it, or I guess get prepared for a performance?
I'm nervous Nelly all the time. Like, I will always be nervous before a show. The SpongeBob and Spamalot show that I did, I was located in Georgia this past summer. So obviously, like, my friends are not located around Georgia. And the only time that I had somebody come to a show was when my mom and my grandma flew and saw like one weekend of shows. So they were only there, I think they saw 2 SpongeBobs and 1 Spamalot. But aside from that, like, I was performing for nobody that I knew for the entire duration. So something that like not kept me going, but was able to motivate me through the shows was that I'm performing for myself. It was very helpful to realize, like, even though nobody's out there for you, you're still going to put the best show that you can on because you are hired to perform this show. You're here because you love it and you want to perform to the best of your abilities. So then I noticed, since I was doing that, by the time that my mom and my grandma came, I wasn't as nervous because I was doing the same show that I've been doing the entire time. And I noticed the same thing happen on The Grinch as well, where like, even though I had a couple family members here and there come and see the show, they were not at all 69 of the shows. So for the most part, I was performing for, again, a crowd of people that were not specifically there for me. Not once did my performance quality get lower just because I didn't have somebody in the audience for me. So it was definitely a nice lesson that I learned, that you're performing for yourself because you want to do the best that you can for the audience that's there. So I think that was something that like kind of took away the nerves whenever I did have people in the audience, because my performance wasn't changing. It wasn't like, oh, I have to do really, really good tonight because my mom's here. No, you've been purposely doing really, really good every night for the paying audience that's coming to see the show, and your mom's gonna get that same performance because you give 110% every night. That's definitely helped me with my nerves.
That's really beautifully said. Besides like the traveling and stuff, what are like some of the differences that you've noticed between a national tour and staying in one location and performing multiple shows?
When you're doing like a stationary run at a theater, you're able, I mean, depending on where it is, but like you'll be able to have your car there if it's in driving distance. So that's not something that you would do on the tour just because you're constantly traveling by bus, by plane, etc. But when you're stationary, you could have your car there, which is always helpful because then you can go get groceries and all these things. It's also different because you're staying in one room the entire time versus when you're on tour, you're changing your hotels. It could be every day, it could be once a week. Like our tour was very comfy. We were in a city at a time. So every Monday was our travel day. We would get there and then we'd stay in that place for a week. Some tours, you'll get somewhere Monday, do a show Monday night, pack it up, leave Tuesday morning, get somewhere, do that show Tuesday, stay until Wednesday, and then leave. Like, it's every tour schedule is different. So ours was a week at a time. A week isn't enough time to really get situated the way that you would get situated when you're staying in the same exact room for the entire duration of the contract. It has its pros and cons, but then when you're on tour, you are constantly changing your scenery, you're trying new restaurants, you don't get tired of things because you're always in a new place, versus like when you're staying in the same place, what you got is what you got. Like, that's the local Applebee's isn't going anywhere. Like, that's gonna be your go-to if that's all you have. There's pros and cons of both, but I like both. So whatever I get, like, I'm content with it because it's still a new experience.
While growing up doing like dance, did you do any other sports or activities aside from it, or were you focused on just dance?
Dance was always number one in my eyes. It was always my number one priority. But I did do gymnastics for like 11 years. I think I quit in like 7th grade, but I did do it for a while. And then I was also going to Hebrew school at the same time. My mom was like, you have to prioritize this too. So that one like never got affected by dance for the most part. So I prioritized that up until my bat mitzvah, and then it got like half and half as I got into high school. But I still went. I graduated from Hebrew school. What else did I do? Oh, I did drama club in high school too. I did that all throughout high school, and they knew that like dance was the priority, so I'd always have to leave early and stuff, but they were able to accommodate to me and I was able to do all the shows, which was really nice as well. Regardless of the fact that I prioritized dance, I was still able to do other things, which is nice.
Did gymnastics and drama club correlate with dancing and everything? Because I feel like a lot of times I hear dancers usually do like gymnastics as well too, and then like with theater and stuff with like drama club and everything, like did they co-mingle?
I think everything in the arts umbrella will always relate to each other. Like gymnastics helped give me some basic tumbling skills. And I say basic, like I can't do many crazy things, but like I can do a cartwheel, a handstand, a round off, like a couple things that like other girls in my studio didn't know how to do just because they didn't take gymnastics. So it literally could not hurt. It was only helpful. And then I've been doing theater since I was like 2 or 3 years old. It didn't start in drama club. Like I started when I was a kid. So I think the fact that I did that definitely helped when it came to like emoting when I was performing a dance, because like my biggest thing that was going for me when I was doing dance growing up, and honestly still now, is my face. Just like all the facials that I'm giving throughout all of my dances. So I definitely think that that rooted from theater and just like performing at a young age.
How was that transition kind of from like high school dance into college with Broadway on Broad and Reflections Dance Company and the experience of doing like college shows?
So I don't feel like it was a transition because COVID put a hard stop to everything. So the clubs weren't running the way that they would regularly run. So I kind of felt like I graduated high school and then had one semester of reflections, started Broadway and Broad briefly. COVID ended it for a year and a half. And even though I did it virtually, it's really not the same thing. So I kind of felt like I had like a 2 or 3 year break from halfway through freshman year all the way to junior year. There was like a pause between there. I really feel like something with my dancing changed my junior year, and like things just started to click even more. Maybe I understood like my body better when it came to like certain movements that like didn't come as naturally earlier. I really don't know, but I do think that I've improved as a dancer when you compare like college me or like end of college me to end of high school me as a dancer. So that was definitely cool. But I had the ability to be able to be in 2 different clubs throughout college, which was really great because one satisfied my dance needs and one satisfied my like theater performing needs. So that was super cool that there was 2 clubs who offered exactly what I was looking for when I went to college. And it was cool because I definitely feel like I have like leadership abilities and like I'm a leader at heart. So being able to be a part of like the e-board and help run the clubs was also pretty cool. So I was vice president and the choreographer of Broadway and Broad. So I think I choreographed 74 dances total for that club in my 4 years of being a part of that club and being the choreographer. It was just cool because like it was a wide range of dance abilities. So it was cool when it was just like a couple like little blockings, and that was really it. Just add in like a little flair to the number, but not too much. And then you have your like big group numbers, so you have everyone in the club, so it needs to be not too hard, but hard enough that it looks entertaining, or sorry, yeah, hard enough that it looks entertaining. And then you have your more dancier numbers, so you have the people who consider themselves dancers in those numbers, and you can make it a little bit harder. And it was just fun to choreograph in the style of each show because I haven't had the ability to do something like that. I've never choreographed for a musical, but like typically if you're choreographing in the style of a show, you're choreographing a musical. So it was cool that without having to choreograph a musical, I was able to choreograph multiple dance numbers from various musicals. So that was really cool. And I definitely think I grew as a choreographer from that. And then I was the president of Reflections Dance Company. My pride and joy, that was the highlight of my college experience. I really just had the best time, and I'm so grateful for that being a part of college and Temple having that for me right on like a platter, because I joined it my first semester freshman year and stuck it through to the end, and it was just such a great experience. So I love that club. It was so great because it was completely student run, so it was like we're catering towards everyone in the club, towards the dancers, what they want. Anyone who wanted to choreograph for the most part had the ability to choreograph whatever dance you wanted to be in. We would do our best to make sure that you got to be in every single dance or as many dances as you want to be in. So it was just cool because it was up to the students, and it wasn't like our competition days where it's super strict and everyone is just like so crazy. Like we're just, a bunch of adults who want to keep dancing, and we prioritize it because we love it. And it's just like another way to keep dancing as a young adult in their early 20s in college. So it was so much fun, and learning from other peers my age and like getting to learn their style of dance, and then also getting to take my style of dance and put it on a group of dancers. Like, I haven't choreographed people my age at that advanced level, but also like that big of a group, because I was able to do the full company like closing numbers. So with all like the transitions in and out, and like making sure everybody gets a chance to dance, and doing my best to make sure that everybody is in the front at least once, and also making sure that everyone had an equal amount of time on stage performing. So like that was just a puzzle that I had to figure out how to do, but once I was able to do it, I was like, wait, I can do this, and I really like it. So it kind of opened up another side of choreography for me in my head, and it made me realize how much I truly do love to choreograph, because I choreographed some really fun numbers. I choreographed The Devil Went Down to Georgia, which was like a jazz piece, and I had half of the group against the other half of the group. It was just a big battle. But then I also choreographed like a Britney Spears number, which was very different than that. Oh, I choreographed this like blindfold number, so everyone was blindfolded, and it was a huge challenge, but everyone was up for it, and I just thought that it was so much fun. It really like opened up my brain artistically to what else I can think of when it comes to choreography. So it just made me realize how much I do love to choreograph, and I would love to continue choreographing in my adulthood. But yeah, that club really helped me find myself as a dancer and a choreographer. I wouldn't regret anything about that club. I love it so much. I'm very grateful for it.
I was so happy that I had like the opportunity to watch you perform, because being able to see you perform live and like the bond that you've created with the other dancers is really amazing to see. And I feel like you really captured their energy well, where you're allowed, like what you're saying, each person to shine and have their moment, and it flowed really nice together. And so I can only imagine doing two different clubs plus studying throughout school and everything. There's a lot like on your plate. How do you schedule your time throughout college, and even now that kind of keeps you organized?
I like being busy. I thrive on it. It's just easier for me to have a lot going on my plate. I don't know why. I'm just like used to it. I did the same thing to myself in high school, and I expect to carry it out into adulthood forever, just because I just like having a lot of things on my plate. Being the president, as well as being the choreographer, the president of Reflections and choreographer of Broadway and Broad, I knew exactly when my deadlines were, because I created the deadlines. So like I knew exactly how much time I had for everything, and choreographing is very important to me. And I never wanted to put anything on stage that was less than my best work. So I would always make sure that I found the time to choreograph, and make sure that like I was putting 110% into everything that I was doing. All my schoolwork I would do throughout the week. Most of the time, my classes weren't back to back. After a class concluded, I would do the homework then. And I don't know, like, I also didn't really sleep much during college. So, like, I don't know, I found time. I don't know how I did it. It just happened, and it worked.
I'm thinking of like I can barely like, make it through college with like all the different classes that I had and everything. Looking at your schedule, it's crazy how you were able to organize everything.
I think it was like also something to look forward to,
Okay.
like a reward where if I got my essay done, yay, I can choreograph now. Like, I don't know, get the punishment over with, and then the reward is there waiting for you. So maybe that's how my brain did it. I don't know.
That's a good way of doing it. With like so many people coming in and out of like the clubs, how were you able to bond with different performers coming in and out like every year, and create different bonds with people to help them like familiarize with the choreography that you're creating for them?
I definitely I did my best to make sure that I had a relationship with every single person in both of my clubs, because I was choreographing for both clubs, and I was working one on one, or not one on one with people, but like 1-on-8, 1-on-4, like depending on the size of the dance. I think in those small group times it was easier to get to know the person and start to showcase my true self, where like I would joke a bit and I'd like get them to crack a smile, and I was like, okay, like I'm in, like now I can work from here. So that was definitely the best way to like get to know people. We also had like bonding events and stuff like that too. I would say it was easier to be closer with the executive boards on both clubs, just because we had our weekly meetings, we constantly were in communications, always close with the people on the e-boards, just because like you had to be, but also like they were my friends, so it worked out. So then it was like working in the smaller groups was what helped bond each individual person, and like not just me with them, but like them to each other. So it's always good to like get into a smaller setting. And then the bonding events were always helpful too, because it was never the same group of people coming. So it's like, oh, if this one person came that hasn't been there the last four, I want to talk to that person because I haven't seen them yet, and now's the time to get to know each other.
Was there more of a transition between like college and then professional work with like the national tours and everything? What were like the different environmental effects of like interacting with like people that in like the more professional setting and then like student performers?
In college, like not having majored in dance or musical theater, I wasn't constantly surrounded by the people that were like, this is my life. Like, we are all competing with each other. It's go, go, go time. I was surrounded by the chill people that were like, oh, cool. Like, I get to do this after my classes because I love to dance and I want to make sure I keep dancing. So, like, I was surrounded by a bunch of people that were so down to earth. And not that, like, the people in the professional industry aren't down to earth, but, like, when you're in an audition room, like everyone is like, it's every man for themselves. So I think that was a little bit of an adjustment, you know, getting to realize that everyone is in competition with each other and people can choose to treat people that way or not. When I went to my very first audition after quitting grad school, I definitely encountered the right people that day because I didn't know what I was doing. Auditions can be really confusing and scary. And if there's anyone that's ever confused, like, I always try to help them out because I was also confused and scared when I first got there. But that first day, like, I met the right people and they were like, okay, so you go here, you sign your name up. They're going to call through this list of people first. You don't worry about that. Then you're going to listen here. You might have to wait all day, but like follow this Instagram account. They post audition updates, like just everything I needed to know. And I was like, oh my God, there needs to be more people like this because without even knowing me, they were like, let me help you out. And they didn't see me as competition. They saw me as a friend and somebody that they wanted to succeed even without really knowing me. So I think that there needs to be more people like that in the industry. All the people that I've met on the actual contracts have been wonderful. Like, I have made real, genuine friendships from the contracts that I've done and that I still talk to, and I still text them regularly or FaceTime them daily. So, like, I've been really lucky when it comes to, like, making friends because I've made real friends. Not just like, all right, we'll be friends for the time being because we're here together, but afterwards, I'm never going to talk to you again. Like, I made some true friends, so I'm really grateful for that. I would say college dance because I did minor in dance. So I was able to take classes that dance majors take, and I feel like everything is so focused on modern and contemporary. And I guess going into the musical theater scene, that's not as much what I'm doing when I'm seeing. I think it was kind of just like a 180 switch because I've been training in one style, but I'm constantly doing a different style when it comes to auditions. 9 out of 10 times we're wearing our character heels when we're going into an audition room and dancing. It's something that I'm still really not good at. Like, I'm not great at heels in general, and I wish that I had practiced that more. Going and taking classes at like Broadway Dance Center or Steps on Broadway, which are like the two big known dance classes that are happening in New York just like all the time. You just can like drop in, take a class, and just going and taking those classes, I was like, wow, like I am in class with people that want to learn. Not that people didn't want to learn in the classes that I was taking at school. I don't know, something about it being school, maybe. There was always people who were in my dance classes, the ones that I would take as a minor. There was always people who would just like show up late, they'd miss, stuff like that. Like, even sometimes I would show up late because I overslept, or I'd be like, I don't want to go today. But then, like, being in that room, you're in a room full of people that want to be there, that want to get better, that want to train, and that want to pursue this. It's just a very motivating environment, especially when the teacher is so, I guess, relatable would be the word, because most of these teachers want the same thing we want. They want to make it to Broadway. They want to make it just in general, and they want to continue to grow as a dancer, as a performer. Having everyone in the room want the same thing and help inspire each other is just such a beautiful thing. There's some scary things that are different when you leave college and go out into the real world, but there's also a lot of beautiful things as well.
What you said earlier about we need more people being able to like, help each other out and like guiding each other, because I feel like the theater world and dance world and then kind of like the film world mingle a little bit with like kind of those energies, because that's the one thing that I was afraid of post college entering like the film industry, of that negative stigma of just like everyone's like whoever's like the top dog is going to like, get it, and there's not like a lot of nice people that help other people out. I've had a lot more instances where I've met people who want to like genuinely help others, artists and other like talents of their nature. Cool to see that, and then having that energy of the different energy from college of like just being a student to like the real world, and it's cool to
Totally.
experience that. It's cool to hear that from your side as well of the theater of you're also experiencing that energy as well.
Yeah, I think it's so important for people to help each other because what is the point in bringing each other down? Like, I don't know. It's so cliche, but I don't get it. Like, you're not going to get the job just because you didn't tell them somebody else where the sign up sheet was. Like, it doesn't mean that you get the job. Like, help them out. Like, it literally doesn't matter. This sparked my memory when I tore my ACL in the middle of an audition. Every dancer in that room was so quick to help me. I tore it, and the two choreographers didn't do anything. They didn't stop the music. They didn't ask if I was okay. They didn't help me. It was probably the most like dehumanizing feeling ever because they just could care less. It kind of just felt like a machine. All right, like a rotating door, just like in and out. Okay, blah blah blah. Oh, you got injured? Great, you're not what we're looking for. Like it was just so humiliating. I think on their part, not even mine, because they showed their true colors as choreographers. But after the song ended and I was able to limp over and sit down, all the girls in that room were so quick to be like, do you need anything? Do you need your water? Do you want me to go get ice? Like, what do you need? And I was like, still in audition mindset. So I was like, no, like, you focus on yourself, you do your thing. We all want the job. Go practice the choreography, do what you gotta do because you're gonna go out there soon too. Like, don't even worry. And then even after the audition ended, I had girls being like, oh my God, like, can I help you up? Do you like need me to help you get your bag? Even after the audition, like I was Ubering to the train station. These three girls like came up to me and they were like, it was so like admiring that like you kept trying to dance even though like you were injured. Like that was just like so impressive. And then they helped me get into my Uber because I couldn't even climb myself. There are good people in the world. And I saw it that day. Not from the choreographers, but from the other people in the room, which it really shouldn't have been them. It should have been the choreographers to help me. But all these people dropped whatever audition mindset they had to then help me, which was really great. I will never forget that.
I'm really glad that at least there's a group of people that actually wanted to help you and not just the
I know.
choreographers who ignore that. Because I'm like, how like be a human being.
You would think, right? Crazy.
That's like wild. Do you like kind of like see a switch between like our generation of coming into the field between like the a generation above us with the choreographers of kind of like removing that stigma of
That's a good question. These two choreographers were just like an anomaly because I don't think that anyone would treat someone how they treated me that day. Like, I really think that regardless of the situation, anyone would stop the music, at least like the bare minimum to help. So I don't think that it's a generational thing. I think it's a maybe how they were raised kind of thing. I was like thinking when it happened, I was like, if I was in a different audition, like creative team was really nice at this place than this place, I feel like they would have done more than this one did. So I don't think it's generational. I think it's them.
that's like such a wild concept that like people don't want to like help other people out when they're injured and that it doesn't make any sense.
I do think that our generation is very like, let me help you. Like, I think for the most part, our generation has been, you got your girls, you got everyone like helping each other in those regards. So, yeah, I mean, I've met a couple people throughout the audition process that are every man for themselves. And there was one person that it was like a friend of a friend of a friend. And I was like, oh, like you auditioned, like, how was it? And they were like, it was fine. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
so you're not gonna help me. That's fine. I'm just gonna move on then because you're not gonna give me anything to work with, and that's okay.
What has been your like individual like performance out of like all of the shows that you remember, or a couple of your favorite like individual performances that kind of like stood out to you?
Theater wise, I did a production of Godspell my final semester of Temple, and that was a really fun performance just because there were only two dancers, so it was me and another girl. So we were just dancing the whole show, and it was just like the two of us being whoever was singing, like their two backup dancers. But like there was different people were singing every song, so we were just like everyone's backup dancer, and it was just super fun to like do a little duet to a bunch of different styles of dancing. So that was super fun. When it comes to actual dance, like number, I don't know. I had so many great ones in Reflections that I don't think anything will top it just because from here on out, I'll probably be doing more theater performing than dance showcases unless there's a twist in my future and that's what I end up doing. I really don't know, but I think Reflections will always be like top tier in my head. Just all the numbers, they were so much fun.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so I have a couple more questions just to wrap up the interview. Like going back to your social media presence, what were some of the feelings as some of like the more numbers came in and you started to grow and grow and grow? What was your feelings while you're up and growing the way that you were?
It was more like shock because I was just like, oh my god, wait, more and more people think that I'm funny and relatable. I don't want to let them down. I need to do my best and always put out my best videos for them because I want to make sure that they enjoy. And I don't know, like it really is something that I'm very proud of and grateful for because I know that this opportunity doesn't happen to everybody, but I do cherish it. And I don't know when it's going to be over because who knows what's going to happen with TikTok, but while I have it, I want to make sure that I'm doing it justice.
What has been your like favorite experience within like the last 5 years on social media?
Through TikTok, met two other girls who were also dancers, and together we made 2 seasons of a podcast called Bar Chat. I flew to LA twice and we filmed it there. That would never have happened if it weren't for TikTok. It really has brought me some great friends, some great opportunities, and just makes me feel like, oh, that's gonna be a cool story to tell my kids when I'm older. Like, that's not normal, but it's cool.
I saw that you were doing like some modeling. What has kind of like your experience been with the modeling world? What kind of like aspects do you enjoy or kind of not enjoy about it?
I started working with this one photographer who lives in Philly. Like, she goes to school for photography, so she has a little studio in her college building. For the past 2 years, we would just go and we would do like a dance photo shoot every few months, or sometimes, like one time we went around just like the city of Philly outside and got some great shots there. And like, it was just a really cool experience because like I only have pictures of me dancing from like picture day at my dance studio in my tutu or in my like silly little possessed contemporary dance costume. This is cool because it was just very like modern clothing and it was a fun shoot that it was very, let's just build something together. It was a great experience.
So yeah, that's all the questions that I have for you. Thank you so much for coming on. And do you have any socials or any projects that you're working on that you want to plug?
Yeah, I have no projects coming up. It's only healing, hoping my ACL heals. But you can follow me on my socials at Lexis Trechak, Lexistrecak. I have TikTok, I have Instagram, I have YouTube, I have Snapchat. So if you want to be my friend on any of those social media platforms, I would be delighted to have you.
Awesome. Go follow, go follow. And thank you so much for coming on again. And thank you for taking your time out of your day to be interviewed.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was super fun. A nice distraction from my ACL recovery.
Bye.
Bye.